Welcome to Ring Talk, the almost weekly, but we've missed a week, boxing show from Goodwin Boxing with myself, Martin Theobald, and with me, Steve Goodwin. How you doing, Steve?
All good, mate. I've been away to Italy, so that's why we didn't do one last week. It was a bit caught up, too much to do really, but it was all good. But we've got a lot to cover through today, and there's lots of exciting news coming ahead for sure. So
we have. I've had to write some of it down. It's just borderline professional in terms of how we run this. But I might have to take my glasses off so I can see the reflection of what I've written down on my screen. But there we go. How was Italy?
Oh, great. Went to Verona Christmas market. I've done a lot better job than I did last year. So I don't really know this, but so every year I try and take. She wants to go to Christmas market. Sometimes it's in the UK. And this year it was Verona. We've got some Italian friends, so we went with them. But last year I found a really lovely Christmas market in Jersey. Went to Jersey, hotel on the seafront. It was bloody freezing though. We got there. So Trisha's looking forward to a Christmas market. And I hadn't really checked that it had finished the day before. So I'm now in Jersey with a wife with no Christmas market. So I got it right this year. So it was one step ahead that the market was actually on. So it was a lot. I had a better response from the wife this year.
Yeah, I mean the prerequisite of going to a Christmas market is there is a Christmas market. But congratulations on sorting it out this year.
Exactly, that was good. We had a nice time. It was all good. But the negative was I missed the show. I missed going to the Egbunike fight in Bournemouth. Josh went, but yeah, I mean this. You know, the thing is when boxing you can fight everywhere. You can't keep every weekend of every year free, can you? So you've got to get on with your normal life as well.
Yeah. And you know, people, I'm sure they appreciate that boxing isn't your sole sort of purpose in life. There's financial advising that gets done. There's family life. There's lots of things. And as you say, sort of if you plan events in advance, sort of outside of boxing, then sometimes they do have to take precedent.
Yeah, exactly that. So that was good.
Let's touch on, you mentioned his name there, Egbunike fighting in Bournemouth on the Chris Billam-Smith undercard at the weekend, English title fight. You weren't there, but did you get to sort of catch it?
I got to see it. Basically, I mean, it's quite obvious we bypassed the Southern area and got him a shot at the English. So it was good manoeuvrability. It was a fight where he was an underdog. I think he was a 7-2 underdog in the fight. It played out pretty much as the bookmakers saw that it would be close, but conclusively a win for Cutler. We knew we were the underdog going into it. I was speaking to his trainer, Aaron Woodstock, he's a very smart guy. And we're sort of the agreement that if it's possible, he needs to come down a weight. We need to check whether it's possible because I just think he lacks that power at super welterweight to keep people away. Whereas I think he'll be a lot more powerful at welterweight, and I think he can go to a higher level because obviously Cutler has more experience under the lights. You've got to accept that as well. But I think that, I mean, Cutler's decent, but he's not going to win I don't think he wins a British title. So you've got to understand where you are in certain weight class. And I think if we want to progress Obi through, we've got to hope that he can make welterweight because I think then he could really progress a lot further at welterweight than at super welterweight. So listen, he's a really good fighter and he put up a fantastic performance. But there's no excuses. He just wasn't good enough on the day. And that's what it is sometimes in boxing. You have levels at weights and you hit, but he gave a lot of credit and it was the best fight of the night. And this is why Sky should show good fights like this. And I think I was speaking to Michael McKinson's dad, and they thought they were going to get the TV slot, and then they changed their minds and put obviously Egbunike against Cutler on. And when you watch the two fights, they made the right decision.
Yeah.
So, but when the TV network's going to work out, this is the way you do it. You should always have a proper fight like this on there. I mean, with all due respect, when I'm going off the track, you put Lauren Price on, who comes afterwards. Yeah, she's a good boxer. Personality-wise, charisma-wise, not really there. Skill, in terms of, I don't think she's going to ever be, people are going to be switching on the TV for her. Unlike Ben Whittaker, who has got something about him. So, you've got to look at what makes TV. Ben Whittaker does, Lauren Price doesn't, irrelevant to talent. and then you need a real solid fight on. But Lauren Price is not going to, nobody's going to be watching it thinking, Carl, that was a fantastic fight. If you'd put, for example, just think of that fight, you put down the Lauren Parker fight for the European title on there, you're talking about proper fights that people would be going wow to, rather than some of the stuff that they put on. But I think there seems to be a gradual moving about, and the fact they put that fight on rather than Michael McKinson fight that against a Ghanaian, that shows you a change of emphasis, hopefully, going forwards.
Yeah, taking it away from the sort of semi-recognisable name versus someone you don't know.
Yeah.
Turn that into a closely matched English title fight. Happy days.
Exactly.
Happy days.
But listen, he performed really well. He would improve if he went and did it again, because it would be his second time under the lights. And I'm not saying he can't win an English title at super welterweight. He may be able to, but he'll definitely, I think, win an English title at welterweight, and that's the difference between the two.
Yeah, and the Sky card I thought was what I really like. I love this Sunday boxing because I got to sit and watch Spurs smash Newcastle to pieces Sunday afternoon, straight into a decent night of boxing. And that CBS versus Masternak fight,
I haven't seen that.
I've got to be honest, I don't think Chris Billam-Smith is great. I think it maybe shows that Coley also wasn't that great. But what he is fun. Like, as a world title fight against Masternak, who, in my mind, and Kev had actually told me in advance, Masternak isn't washed. He's not done for. This will be competitive. Whereas I said to him, I remember Masternak from the Bellew fight. Like, that must be 10 years ago. Like, I don't know what he's done since then. Therefore, I can only assume he's sort of on the tail end of a career. But it was brilliant fun. Great fight. I'll say, not that he's a great fighter necessarily, Chris Billam-Smith, but
he's entertaining and he brings the crowd. And so you've got that. I mean, the Billam-Smith fight, obviously I didn't see it, so I couldn't comment. Ben Whittaker's what he is. He's bowling over people he should bowl over, but he's doing it entertainingly. So, and then you had this fight, and then I didn't see the Hennessy fight, the girl fight before. Whether that was worth watching or not, I don't know. I have
no idea. I didn't see it, I've got to be honest. But Ben Whittaker, brilliant. I absolutely love that he's out there taking the piss out of people that he's levels above. What I get bored about is watching boxers that are levels above opponents, not taking them out, being dull with it, winning a sort of unanimous wide points decision and being forgettable. Ben Whittaker, yeah, he's levels above. And I see people say, oh, it's so disrespectful to the opponent. Shut up. Just let him have some fun. Let him entertain. It's an entertainment business. And then he does a very clinical finish at the end of it. If you can't enjoy that, I'm not really sure what you're tuning in for.
I like Ben Whittaker.
Yeah, I think he's class. Like, whether he can do that at world level, no idea, but I want to see him try.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, your own show Saturday night up at York Hall. Now, I know there's a number of people that weren't from your stable sort of added up. So I'm going to run through some of the names, some of the fights, some of the event. We're only going to touch it briefly because we've also got Box Mania to run back through.
Yeah.
So I'll run through it very, very briefly. Jiyan Oguz versus Jack England.
Yeah, he's a really promising kid, Jiyan Oguz. He's managed by Josh Burnham, but Josh wants me to manage him going forward. So I'm meeting them on Monday to take over the management. So I'll be having a good look at him. Very, very talented kid around Super Bantam. And it's a division you can really push through on. He's really, Josh really rates him. So I'm going to be fast tracking him. And then hopefully back end of next year, early 25, we'll be hitting title trail. So, but he's good. I haven't seen the fight. But my understanding was I was told he was very good in it. So I'm looking forward to seeing the fight. I'm looking forward to working with him closer going forward.
Valentin Mogos versus Dylan Courtney.
Mickey Amu fight. I haven't seen it again. He's won 39-37. He's an ex-kickboxer. I think he's got a lot to learn. He's going to need. Mickey will have to take some time with him.
All right, Jack Blencow versus Tom Ramsden.
That's a Ryan Barrett fighter. I didn't see the fight, but he's beaten Jack Blencow on his debut. Has beaten somebody with a positive record, so that's not a bad debut for a professional take on somebody like that. So, again, we'll be working with Jack. He's going to be on one of our shows in March.
Yeah, Jordan Reynolds, who there's a lot of thought of Jordan. He's got that Luton background. bit of a backstory with your own Linus Udofia, ex-Team GB member. Beat Bahadur Karimi.
Good. The week before beaten Patrick, or 2 weeks before beaten Patrick Mendy. So, yeah, I mean, Jordan's won every round and dropped him. Tony Peel fighter. He's, again, this is now Tony's got to do the job. It's not my fighter. How does he get him to the next level? How does he get him title fights? And that's what Tony's got to. How does he get him where he's got to get him? And that's where the management comes in. So Tony's got to work with that. We just helped him out by putting him on a show because they wanted to get him out. So we just helped him with that.
Yeah, Faik Udin versus Jules Phillips.
That's a Freddie Warren fighter. Again, he was left without a fight and needed to get out quickly. So we just helped them out. We're here to help people when they're in trouble and other people have pulled them off shows and stuff like that.
Luke Pearson against Stephen Maguire.
The John Edwards fighter, as you can see, I haven't even had a fighter on yet. Luke Pearson again, apparently done really well. He's quite a talented kid. Again, a super bantam. And he's with the John Edwards team, which is quite a successful team over in Surrey. Again, I haven't watched the fight, but he's a kid. I think he's a 9-0 now, so he's got to be heading towards title contention.
Frankie Story against Daryl Tafuma, another Lutonian. Frankie Story.
Another Tony Peel fighter. I know they're looking for Frankie on the title trail, but I think Tony's trying to bring him along slowly. They're looking for an area title fight, but I don't think they've got an opponent at the moment. They're trying to look for one. He's not ready for an English title yet. So they're just I think Tony's trying to do the job and build him along gradually. But I think he's a very, very talented fighter. I think he's going places for sure.
And then finally, we come to one that is yours, Timon Douglin.
Yeah, 6-5.
Taking on a man in his 100th fight. Congratulations.
We should say Harry Matthews. I mean, I promoted him once on our first ever show. He was top of the bill at Milton Keynes in 2010. And so I watched Harry's career with a lot of interest. He turned from an 8-0 prospect, decided to go down the journeyman route, made plenty of money. Now an actor. I think this is his last fight. I think that's him done. And it's quite nice that, Harry fought on our show, if that is to be his last fight. Timon won every round. He's very talented, and I'm hoping to step Timon up into a title fight in March. We're just waiting to get a fight approved by the board. And I'm hoping that Timon will be in a title fight in March.
Ace. Right. So before we go on to the Box Mania card and have a look back at that, just going to touch on a few things from the sort of Goodwin boxing world. Linus Udofia, there is a fight. I know what it is. You know what it is, but we're not allowed to talk about it.
We're waiting for it to be announced, which should be on Wednesday. So it should be by the time this comes out. That everybody should know about it, and we can talk about it next week when we conclude the pre-Christmas one.
But we won't talk about it now in case Josh becomes really efficient and manages to do it before then.
Exactly, that's the plan. And so bottom line is, it's a great fight and a great opportunity because he didn't really get a chance in his last fight. He had a freak injury in the middle of after round 6 when the fight hadn't even started. So this is really his day to shine, and he's got to shine. We can have hard luck where we lost a split to Denzel Bentley. That's bad luck. It was very close, could have gone either way. The last time he had a freak eye injury, okay, we accept that. You can't keep having bad luck. We've got to get it. We've got to win. And this is a must win. There's no hard luck story. We can't have a third hard luck story. He's got to go and win this one.
Yeah. It's against a fighter that has been highly thought of and is still sort of highly thought of, but their reputation, it was skyrocketing, and now it's maybe plateaued a little bit without achieving what was sort of thought that they would.
I think this fight's winnable. I think it's well winnable, this fight.
Unless that other lad turns out to be absolute world class and has been waiting to show it. But in my mind, it's winnable completely for Linus. When we're allowed to talk about who it is, we'll come back to it. Yeah. Zach Chelli's been off sparring.
Yeah, he's been sparring Callum Smith today or yesterday. They're quite happy with how it went. He's in great form and looking forward to the. We're 6 weeks away. He's in scintillating form. I can't see anything but a win for Zach over Jack Cullen. I'm waiting for the odds from the bookmakers. Because honestly, if they have him odds against, which I think they may do, 6-4, 7-4, wrong, seriously wrong odds.
Yeah. So that's on the undercard of Jonas Mayer up in Liverpool, isn't it? Which there's more interest that might be coming along. So I'm going to see if I can make my way up there. We shall see. See. So that's kind of what's going on in the world of Goodwin boxing. So we're gonna go and time warp it back a little bit to Box Mania, which took place on 2nd of December, which seems a lifetime ago. It's only 10 days ago when we're recording. Amazing card. You were just reading to me earlier, actually, the boxing news write-up of it. And it's such a lovely blend of meaningful fights, names that you recognise, excitement, titles, just everything that you want, everything that you could want.
It was an amazing show, but we're not resting. I'm aiming to make the 9th of March even bigger.
We're going to come on to 9th of March and what we're allowed to talk about.
I expect it to receive more plaudits like this one, and we're getting such good coverage on these Box Manias. We're getting previews now in the Boxing News. Boxing News now preview Box Manias. 2 Box Manias in a row they've done a full-page preview on. So
as they should.
It's getting recognition, and we're getting big coverage after it as well. So it's starting to become a brand that we want to build. And it's going to continue to build and build and build. And I think the last comment, I'm going to read it, it's from the news this week. So they go on and they say how good it was. And the last comment said, promoters take note. And I thought that was a really good thing from the Boxing News. But I also think you should maybe have a caveat and say TV companies take note. Those sort of shows, especially when we get improvement even another notch, they are TV shows, without a doubt. I'm not saying that you could take quite a few of those fights and put them onto a TV platform. And again, I think it will only get better. The whole concept is getting better. I'm developing it. And I think it will just get bigger and better.
No, I agree completely. And I mean, in an era where you've got an app that the only content you've got is boxing on it and some esports, and they didn't get Premier League rights, there's time to be filled on said app. I'm not saying they're the only ones that could potentially pick it up. You know, any sort of content provider with sports should be looking at doing these. And let's be honest, they'd be relatively cheap for them to pick up in comparison to world title fights and big shows where they've got the big production. The production you put on for them is big for what you do, and it looks stunning. And I'm sure those boxers get the benefit of it when they're walking out there. Somebody needs to pull their finger out their arse and do something to get these on a platform somewhere. But
listen, I totally agree that our fight night stuff, which is the smaller stuff, that's not TV worthy. I wouldn't even try and as isn't 98% of small TV shows. They're not. They're development things. But this concept is different, and it should be on TV. But that's up to them. But it's going to take momentum to drive towards that. It's a momentum driven thing, and it will just build more and more momentum as time goes on, as people talk about Box Mania, and it will just drive more and more interest.
Yeah, it will. And then you can get a proper commentator and I can just come and watch.
You are a proper commentator, mine.
So let's delve into it. I'm going to skip through a few of the fights on here, just so we get into the real meat of it as well. So we'll start it off with Ellis Stewart against Ian Morrell. Ellis was a sort of late addition to this. I know he'd been having sort of personal issues with a newborn baby. In the build-up to the fight. How do you make? What did you make of Ellis's performance?
It was below par. He admits it himself. His baby was only born on Wednesday. That wasn't Ellis at his best. I've seen him far better than that. But he wanted to keep momentum going and took the fight. But perhaps in hindsight, he probably could have skipped the night and concentrated on his 3-day-old baby, because he's got to win, and it's probably no bad thing. But he wasn't anywhere near himself.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Constantine Williams beat Jordan Granham over 6 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, Jermaine now, he's had 6. He came to me, was previously with another manager in London. And he, like many, he wanted to come to us. So we're now building towards, and hopefully again, there'll be more news on this in the next week or 2. He'll be heading towards a title fight in March as well.
All right, lovely. Your superstar for the evening in terms of who turned up with the most flags, who turned up with an awful lot of fans. Armis Baladze beat Richard Helm over 4 rounds.
Yeah, Dennis won every round. You know, he's learning on the job. He's had 3 fights now. He only had 15 amateurs. Sells a shed load of tickets. He's got a big support, big atmosphere. He works with a chap called Aldo, who's his commercial manager. Pleasure to work with, a good man. And, you know, it's great. And we're just working on. He'll be on the next Box Mania again, because he's a Box Mania because he brings something extra to the show. And that's what we're looking for in Box Mania shows. Somebody who's going to bring that extra. And whatever that extra is, ability, which he has, but plus the support and the noise he has. And if we see a young prospect that we think looks like he could go into a big place, and he's going on, we've got one that we're putting on the next Box Mania. So it's what it's about. It's showcasing different people at different levels, some that are names, some that we think are going to make it, some that are going to bring something extra to the show. So his next fight is definitely 9th of March, Box Mania.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun. Those Albanians were noisy. Speaking of sort of those that can make it, Linus Udofia, who we've been talking about, he went up very short notice to light heavy for Dylan Courtney. It wasn't Linus's
he needed, like Zach Chelli did, you need a W. If you're going to go into a big fight, TV companies don't want it on a loss.
Yeah.
So we had to get the W. So sometimes you have to just go get your W, because that then opens up these next fights. Because that's what that's there for. That's what Yusuf Kamari was there for. It's what Zach Chelli was there for in September. It's just to get the W.
Yeah, which he did. And yeah, it wasn't spectacular. It was what was needed against Dylan Courtney to get him through 4 rounds and move him on for next year.
He didn't want injuries. He couldn't afford to take chances. He just needed to box his way to 4-round wins. That's all it was. He didn't want a war, didn't want any disasters, any head clashes. There was something in the pipeline, and we had just to get the W.
Yeah. Yusuf Kamari, he, as you just sort of mentioned his name, took Lee Hallett 6 rounds.
Well, Yusuf came home, and he's re-signed with us. And I thought, and I don't know if you agree, and this is genuine, I thought he looked sensational. And I know it's Lee Hallett, but it's not the fact of who it is. And we know Lee's a journeyman. I thought Yusuf looked sensational in terms of combinations, damage that he caused, and how he rocked Lee around the ring. And you don't see many do that to Lee Hallett. And it was interesting. So I said to Yusuf, "You look brilliant." He said, "I feel happy now. I'm back home again." He said, "I just feel so happy." And I think he's ready now. And so I'm working on something, and I'm hoping it might come to fruition. It may not. If not, we'll create something else. But I'm looking to get Yusuf back out in March. If not, in a bigger fight. If not, we'll do something, probably Box Mania for him. But if not, then we'll look for something else. But I'm hoping to have some news for Yusuf by next week.
Yeah, and he looked the best that I've seen him look in a long time.
You feel that as well, did you?
Yeah, and he really did a number on Lee as well, which you don't see that often, but he bust Lee up quite badly. He was more... I was actually sat with Xavier Miller, his trainer, sort of afterwards, and chatting with him. I said he looks more front foot aggressive, willing to take it into the opponent. And I don't know if Zab will tell me off for this or not, so apologies, Zab, if you do, but he said, like, we've lost fights because I think he boxes brilliantly, but the judges don't appreciate how brilliantly he boxes. Right. So actually, nuts to it, let's take him forward. Let's get him on the front foot. He can do that as well. He can get into the pocket and throw. So let's do that as well. And that's what he was doing. And
that's what he needs to do when he steps up that level again, because too many times when he fought Liam Dillon for the English, he spent too long on the ropes back footing. The fact that he probably won the fight, but didn't get it. He didn't get it because he was too much on the back foot. And it was a draw, that fight, if you remember. But it was very close. I mean, I thought, I think you can definitely argue Yusuf won that fight. But the point was, he was on the back foot. And he did the same when he fought Reece Bellotti, although he shouldn't have took that fight. The long reason he shouldn't have took that fight, he was told he had to take it when he didn't. He should never have taken it. He was in no physical condition to do that fight. But now things like that won't happen to him anymore. We're going to be taking the fights when he's ready, and I think we've got another British champion on our hands with Yusuf.
Yeah, agree entirely. An exciting prospect, Ahmed Hatim. I know he's not yours. He's Mickey Amuz.
Mickey Amuz. He's done a good job. He's hoping to get an English title final eliminator in March. Yeah, I mean, again, Mickey's his manager. I lend a helping hand, but it's, that's Mickey's job as his manager. I thought he looked okay. I didn't think it was his best performance. I've seen him look better. I'm just being honest. But again, you've got to also remember that he was expecting to fight in a massive 10-round fight here. The opponent pulled out, so he got a 6-round substitute. And it's not going to feel the same, is it? When it's like, you think you're playing in, you think you're playing in the first team at football at Wembley, and then you're demoted to the reserves and you're playing on a little park. For him, I understand why he might not have been the sharpest that he could have been.
Yeah.
I don't think if I said that, he looked fantastic, he looked sensational, like I said about Yusuf, I'd be lying. I'm not going to say that. But I thought he showed his class, and you could see he had the ability there. But I don't think overall it was his best performance.
No, I think that's fair. Jerome Stay Ready Campbell, hard fought win.
Good fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of just two tough men. Adam Rasul coming down from up north against Jerome Campbell, 56.
Pat Barrett doesn't bring fighters down he doesn't think are going to win. And it was a cracking fight in an English super featherweight eliminator. Jerome needed that. He needed to step up because I think he's got stale fighting journeyman, and he needed to have a proper test, and he's had that now. Stand him in good stead, that 10-rounder, for the next time he goes up. Really happy with him. We'll see whether anything appears, but I'll be working on Jerome's next fight over the next week or two. It's so much to go on this time. It's really busy because although there's no shows, you're working for every fighter. Well, I am. You're working for every fighter's plan, strategy, where we're aiming for, how we're going to do it. Spending lots of time doing that. And that for me is, so that's what we're looking at now. You try and open the door. If that door opens, you go through it. If it's blocked for the moment, you have to sidestep it. And every fighter's different. So I've got loads of meetings, loads of lunches, loads of dinners with box over the next 10 days. I'm going to be even fatter than I am in 10 days' time. But that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. And we're meeting lots of boxers and to actually sort out and iron out plans.
Real. Peter Murgo, Ramez Mahmood. A fight that didn't really catch fire, did it? It was, I'm not going to say it was dull, because that's harsh, but it didn't catch fire in the way that I maybe hoped it would have.
I think it became fairly monotonous. I just felt that if you watched one round, you watched every round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And Ramez was the worthy winner, and I managed Peter. I think Peter wasn't at his best. I thought Ramez was really good. And I thought Ramez, and I think that's his final fight, he retires with a Commonwealth silver. And full credit to him in his career, because I think he's been a great servant to boxing. But Peter's going to come again. I've done a fight for him. I can mention this fight. On the 9th of March, he's taken on an unbeaten kid in Joko Amici. They're going to do a 10-round non-title fight, but both going to be coming to win. It doesn't have to have a belt on it to be a cracking fight. So he'll be taking on an undefeated kid. So he's straight back into another 10-rounder Peter on Box Mania again. It's going to be a great fight. So I'm looking forward to that. So that is one fight we've done. They're the type of fights that Box Mania attract. Boxers are boxers. They want to fight on Box Manias. So they want to take the challenge and see whether they can rise to the occasion and move on. So, because like Peter now, he's lost to Ramez. He's got to come back with a win. And the kid that's undefeated, Joko Amici, he's not the biggest ticket seller in the world. So he's got to throw himself in as well. And so for both of them, the win will elevate them back. For Peter, it elevates him back, potentially even to English level. And for Joe Michi, if he wins this, it'll elevate him for an area title, and then he can build up from there. And even if Joe loses, he's only got to do one more fight, and he could be 3-1 and qualify for an area title at bantamweight. So it's not the end for either fighter, but the winner's got a big prize ahead.
Yeah, I didn't realise that was Ramez's last fight, actually. And I know Ramez watches this, and so shout out to Ramez, because I've followed his career for many years, and he's one of the nicest people. Like, genuinely a lovely bloke. Probably too nice for this sport, if I'm perfectly honest. Too good a person for this sport. I'm delighted that he picks up that Commonwealth silver title on his way out the door. And I hope that, if that is his way out the door, then congratulations, Ramez, and enjoy just going back to being a maths teacher and sort of inspiring the next set of people with your achievements, because genuinely brilliant bloke.
Yeah, exactly that. So full credit.
Yeah. And I'm going to reverse the order about how I talk about the last two fights, purely through preference. So we're going to touch first on Denis Denikachev. I'll never pronounce it correctly, and Adam Thorne tells me off for it. Against Mikey Saki. Fourth round KO loss for Denikachev. Body shot, big body shot. You could, one of those ones where when you see it, it took Dennis a second to go down while it sort of settled into the body. Big win for Mikey Saki. Huge win, isn't it?
He was retiring if he lost that.
Was he?
Yeah. And Dennis, Dennis was thinking, when you're looking at Dennis's options it was his voluntary defence. On paper, he's favourite. And Mikey had got beaten by Sajidabid. So obviously Dennis is picking what he feels is the best fight for him. But one punch in boxing is all it takes. And Mikey again, they're both two of the nicest people you ever want to meet, Dennis and Mikey. And Dennis will come back from that, no problem. But for Mikey, he's got a reward, a real reward for all the time he's been in boxing, because he'd won a Southern area before, but he'd been, I'm not saying mismanaged, but not necessarily things went his way. And he's took the opportunity. He's now English champion, and he'll sit, and I'll have a meeting with Mikey next week, and we'll decide what he wants to do next. For Dennis, though, he's still got a lot. He's English champion. He's got a long way to come, and he'll learn from that. And I've got no doubt he still will end up fighting for a British title at some point.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I had Dennis winning that fight up until that point. I thought Dennis was putting together the better work rate, the better combinations. He was forcing the pace of the fight. Not an awful lot was getting through onto Saki. He was really tight in his defence. Saki was sort of just throwing the single shots that weren't keeping Dennis off until it needed to, and then he really kept him off with that body shot. So congratulations to Mikey Saki. Come on to the last fight. It wasn't the last fight of the night, but it's the last one I'm going to talk about from the night, because it was a standout, exceptional, unforgettable fight, which was Lauren Parker against Giuseppina Di Stefano. Fuck me, it was good. It was so good. Just a whirlwind of a fight. When 10 rounds goes by like that, you think, I don't know what I've just watched. Like,
one of the best fights I've ever seen.
Yeah. It was unreal.
The referee said the best fight he's refereed.
Brilliant.
And he's refereed world titles. He said it was the best fight I've ever refereed.
Yeah. And so touch on one bit which some people may, if they've seen it, if they were there. One of the scorecards was wild, 97-92 to Lauren Parker. The other two I thought were perfectly fine, 95-94, 96-93. You could make a case for Giuseppina, but I thought Lauren won it by dominating the second half of the fight with boxing skill over aggression and enthusiasm, which Giuseppina dominated with at the start of the fight. She was... Whew, whew. I wouldn't want to fight Giuseppina. That woman.
No, I mean, they were very respectful. I mean, the manager was a bit unhappy with one of the cards. The Finnish judge had it 5-0 to Lauren after 5, and he was really unhappy with that scorecard.
Understandably.
Listen, I think Lauren was a better boxer throughout the whole fight. But that was the only objection they had. They said they thought they probably lost, but they said they were more disappointed in the wide card. That was the only thing. So they didn't. I think they accepted that Lauren won the fight, and you know, I thought Lauren showed tremendous heart, and you know, again, she had to go through with that fight. But in an ideal world, she might not have gone through with that fight for various reasons. And I think she deserves all the credit in the world for doing that. So now we have to see. We want to see where if we can get her world rankings up and see whether we can create an opportunity for her.
What impressed me so much is that those first 2-3 rounds, Di Stefano was a whirlwind that was just pressure. And she did a bit of damage to Lauren. Lauren ends up with a cut nose, sort of, you know, there's blood pouring out of it. You're starting to think, is she going to wilt under this? Because I sort of sat with a mate and chatting about it, and sat with my son. I said, there's no way this lady can keep it up for 10 rounds. She can't. And she did. And so Lauren had to adapt how she was boxing, and she sort of adapted it from round 3 onwards, and she was boxing a lot smarter after that. And still Di Stefano kept that pressure on her, kept forcing the speed of the fight. And Lauren kept up with her as well. Lauren then sort of upped her own sort of rhythm and tempo while boxing smart in doing so. I was so impressed with Lauren that night. And like, that was a ridiculous fight. And she should be so proud of herself for her achievement, and sort of everything that she did in that ring for those 20 minutes was superb.
Look at when she came to me during COVID. She was 4-1-1. She'd lost to a journeywoman and drawn with a journeywoman. Now look at her. Sensational turnaround of a career. And you have to credit Paul Webber, her coach, who's been absolutely magnificent with her. You have to credit Lauren, because from a 4-1-1 record, she's turned into this, ranked inside the world 10, in top 10 by 1 or 2 world bodies already. Sensational performance, sensational heart, sensational courage, lovely person, lovely family. She deserves absolutely everything. I was so delighted and ecstatic for her. They had to, you've got to remember that those fights are not cheap to put on. We help, you know, everybody helped. She got lots of sponsors behind her. The noise for her was amazing, wasn't it there?
That was one of the best atmospheres I've seen at York Hall. Yeah, it was undoubtedly one of the best atmospheres. I'd rarely ever sit and record sort of ring walks and such like, but I did for her because I was just sort of taken away with it. And I've seen hundreds of fights down there.
Been brilliant. It was brilliant. It was fantastic. Yeah. So, you know, touch wood, we now look at where we go. I'm going to sit down. You know, she's recovering. I went to see Lauren just the day before, last Wednesday, the day before I went to Italy, went round to her house, saw her and her mum. And it was just lovely seeing her, and she's so happy. And she was just amazing. I was so delighted, as I've ever been in in 13 years in boxing. And it's fantastic. And I'm just excited to see where we go next. But I've just got to sit and let it all. She's going away on a cruise her mum said, if you win the fight, I'll take you on a cruise. So she's going away with her mum on a cruise in January. She deserves that. And then we'll sit down and think about, you know, where we go next and what we do. We'll let things play out for a little bit. She needs some time to recover from a fight like that, that's for sure.
Oh, she does, mentally, physically, I'm sure. I know she had to make some sacrifices going into that fight, not just a standard sort of, put yourself away for 8 weeks. Some real sacrifices, sort of spiritually, physically, financially, mentally, all of it. So just delighted for her to come away with that win, and the opportunities that it hopefully opens up on the other side of it. Once she's travelled around the world on a boat, then come back and, you know, hopefully that world becomes something that is more attainable through a boxing sense.
Exactly that. So we will, well, that's we'll again, that'll be something we work on probably through January time, we'll have a good look and see what the ratings bodies do, see what options there are, and then we'll take it from there. But I do think this is why I just want to say about boxing. This is why Josh went to Rome. This is why we landed the purse bid. This is why Lauren went out and attracted sponsors to help to fund this fight. This is why the family bust everything. They sold tickets as much as they could. Sponsorship. We helped a little bit, but they did everything they could, and she made money out. And by the way, just so I clarify this, because I was told some nonsense at the weigh-in, Lauren made money out of the fight. She didn't have to. It looked like how she do it. We still made sure that she made money out of the fight. So not fortunes, but she made something. And despite having to stage it, but the key is, do you think we'd have got that on the cards in Italy?
No.
No, and I don't either. Despite we'd have won the fight, we wouldn't have won that on the cards in Italy.
And don't get me wrong, if you did it in Uruguay, then yes, she fully deserves to win it. Any country in the world. Would she have won it in a home country of the opponent? No, I don't think she would have.
And that's why we did what we did. You don't see many small hall fighters go out there and get a European title on home soil. You get it on TV, but the fact that we all did that as a team is some amazing piece of work of a lot of people involved. And her mum's a big part of this in actually making this happen.
Shout out to her mum, Vanessa, who
100%.
I don't think Vanessa can box, but I'm pretty sure she sits and throws every punch with Lauren while the fight's going on. And Sean, her other half as well, and her dad as well, who sort of goes and takes us all. Yeah. Paul Webber, William Webber, who was sat down there ringside with her. I know
he was in pieces behind me on wheels. I can't score it. I can't watch.
Yeah, I know her brother's involved, sort of a musician and does bits there. Sort of, as you say, it's a real team effort, a family effort, a sort of a consortium of individuals that go out there to better somebody's career, and I admire that, every one of them.
That's fantastic. I'm just so happy for them all. And I said to Lauren, and I'm not sure, so if you retired after this, you've achieved something that 99% plus of boxers would never achieve. And where you've come from to where you've got to be proud. Doesn't mean you can't go further, but if you didn't ever box again, and she's going to box, of course, you'd have to say that's amazing to be a European champion. And to have done it the way she's done it is just absolutely amazing. Just amazing.
She said, shut up, Steve, go and get me a world title fight.
Yeah, well, that's obviously what we'd like, isn't it? But we were looking at the champions are all Mexicans and Argentinians, and yeah, so it's logistically it's a little bit of a thing, but we'll see. We'll see. There's also a potential fight at some point if we can get it. World title Shannon Ryan. That's a fight we'd love at some point. But we'd like it to be for something substantial. But yeah, that's definitely.
If you need someone to go to Cancun for a week and go and support her, send me. I'll go. Do it.
Exactly. No, we'll have some of that, won't we? We'll have some of that.
Yeah. And shout out as well, John Bailey, who was your ticket winner. I got to sit with John, sort of saw him in the bar for a bit, sat next to him ringside. It was lovely to meet him, and I know he's a big supporter of what Goodwin Boxing does. Come all the way from Wales over for that with his mate on
the good thing is he's come to an amazing show, hasn't he? So he's enjoyed it, and I haven't spoke to him afterwards, but he was enjoying it when I was speaking to him, and so hopefully he had a great night and he thought the trip was worthwhile.
Yeah, top bloke. Right, we're not going to touch on March the 9th now because we've gone on for long enough, but we are back. Oh, and my camera's gone blurring. I don't know why. But we are going to come back next week and we'll do a bit more of an update on the things we couldn't talk about, plus March the 9th, and give you a full sort of end of year review.
Exactly that.
Brilliant stuff.